Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today's video I'm here to give you 5 things which I believe we learned from the game against Coventry where we lost 3-2 away from home. I've had 8 hours worth of sleep and I still have more questions than answers following yesterday's defeat. But I've managed to pick out 5 things which I believe we've learned from the game against Coventry, and I'm going to talk about them in a little bit more detail. So yeah, number 1. We just don't really have a plan B, do we? And if we do, we did it quite late yesterday against Coventry. Now, I have no problems in mixing the way we like to play football, but it was quite clear, even at half-time, that plan A was kind of struggling despite being 2-0 up. Now, I know that sounds absolutely crazy, but I felt like if Coventry were a little bit more clinical in front of goal in the first half, it could have easily have gone the other way. It could have easily have been Coventry in front at half time, or it could have been a draw. But we were very fortunate enough to go in, because we were very clinical in the first half, to be 2-0 up at half time. But then as the second half started, it was getting even more clearer that plan A was quite struggling, and we were just hoping that something was going to change, or our game management was going to see us through. Our game management was absolutely poor, and we made our subs and it just looked the same. It didn't look any better. And yes, we do have injuries, and yes, we don't have certain personnel, but the worrying signs are we don't have a plan B, we don't have a plan C, and if plan A don't work, then we're going to just keep losing games of football. As a manager, you have to utilise what you've got. You've got to be adaptable. You've got to, just take every situation as they come. If you've got an injury crisis, okay, that's fine, but you need to figure out ways, I'm sure they prepared for this going into the game against Cov. Edwards must know he's starting 11 the day prior. So then, if he knows he's starting 11, then you should know what a plan B option is if plan A doesn't work. You can't always assume plan A is always going to work. It just doesn't. And I just feel like if we had Nathan Jones in charge, he would have actually won that game against Coventry. He would have managed to see it through, but we were unable to, and I feel like that's down to our manager in Rob Edwards. And this goes to my second point which I wanted to mention, and it involves something a little bit similar to the first point, and that is our passing with no conviction. Now, throughout the whole game against Coventry, we were just going long. We weren't keeping the ball. We weren't, doing a couple of passes before going long. I don't mind going long. I don't mind going short. I like doing the balance between both. I like the balance because I think it's perfect against any other team. I feel like you become too predictable if you play a certain way. If you go long for 90 minutes or if you're just passing constantly for 90 minutes, it does become predictable, and I feel like finding the right balance is absolutely key. However, we were picking up the ball constantly against Coventry, and we were just going long, and we were just constantly losing it because we were going long with no conviction. When we were playing against Watford and playing against Sunderland, at least when we were going long to our strikers and lumping the ball forward, we were giving it to them in a way where they can actually contest the ball. I felt like with Coventry, we were either putting the ball so far in the air that they were never ever going to compete with it, or the ball went so far wide, our strikers got to run about 50 yards to try and get the ball and try and win it off the Coventry defender. And when Coventry were piling on that pressure and we were managing to get in the ball back after the pressure, we were then giving it back to them for them to even pressure us even more. And that's why they kept having so many opportunities, because we kept giving the ball away so cheaply. We need to be a bit smarter with our passing. If we're going to go long, give it to the striker's chest. So it's a lot more difficult, because if Elijah and Morris are like holding the striker here, holding the Coventry defender here, if the ball's coming to them at chest height, they can obviously hopefully bring the ball down on their chest and play, and then link the play up. But we didn't really get that, because the actual first pass originally from all of our team was just simply awful. There was a real lack of quality in terms of our passing, and it really did let us down, especially in the second half. especially because Coventry were piling on that pressure. They're 2-0 down at home, so of course they're going to go at us. They're not going to just go, okay, Luton, you play your game, we're just going to counter you. No, they're going to get on top of the ball and start playing their football, and we just allow them to do it. I couldn't believe that second half. I even watched the highlights back, and I never do when we lose, and wow, I honestly couldn't believe it. But anyway, moving on from that, let's talk about point number 3, and that is Joe Taylor. Joe Taylor, for me, has got no career at Luton Town Football Club, and we might as well just offload him in January, especially if Rob Edwards is going to carry on being our manager. If we get a new manager, Joe Taylor may get an opportunity, but Joe Taylor is never going to play for Luton. Woodrow is always going to get more minutes than Joe Taylor, and I did see a social media post last night from a Luton journalist, and apparently he's already asked Rob Edwards the question about Joe Taylor, and Edwards has responded and said it's what Joe Taylor does in training is the reason why he doesn't get more minutes, because Woodrow in training is performing better and also doing a lot better in the press. Apparently the press is super important at Luton. Okay, fair enough, but apparently Joe Taylor's not doing it properly in training. So if he's not going to do it properly in training, it means he's not going to get first team football on a match day. Half the time I don't care what you do in training, because it's in the games where it matters the most, but he's not going to get ahead of Woodrow. We have to accept that. Unless Robert Edwards leaves, Joe Taylor's got no future here at Luton Town Football Club, and I can understand why he's probably sulking, because, you know, you've scored 20 goals in League 2 and League 1 last year. You're not getting an opportunity to perform in the Championship, and you're getting 5 minutes at an end of the game to try and do something. It's just not going to happen. So Woodrow's always going to play, whether fans like that or not. He's doing it in training, Taylor isn't, and that's that debate over with, I guess. Number 4, no Alfie for the game against West Brom. And I wanted to talk about Alfie because it's not just what he brings in terms of his crossing ability on the pitch, but it's also the set pieces, and it goes back to plan B as well. Who can take corners and set pieces? Corners, free kicks. Who can do that at Luton Town Football Club? Because Alfie is so committed to taking every single one, or Luton are committed for him to take every single corner and free kick. We've not actually seen any other player take it at Luton. I think there's 4 players at the club that can potentially take a corner and a free kick. You've got Baptiste, but he's probably not going to be fit enough to start. You've got Walsh, who's got good passing ability. I think he could take corners and free kicks. You then have Victor Moses, who we've seen plenty on occasions put decent balls into the box. And then you've also got Clark, but I feel like Clark deserves to be dropped, because I feel like he's been really poor since the season has started, and I don't think he should be playing against West Brom. So you've got roughly 4 players there who could take potentially a corner. It'd be interesting to see what happens. Are we going to be better at taking corners or set pieces? Are we going to be a lot worse? There's going to be a lot of questions around that for the game against West Brom, and I feel like we'll get plenty of answers by the end of the game when we do get given those set pieces. So it'd be interesting to see what happens, how good we are, how bad we are. But Alfie does bring a lot to the game, and I also think missing the game against West Brom is probably going to do him a little bit of good as well, because he's played, like, I think every single minute so far in the Championship season. It gives him a little bit of a break, and he could be a little bit more fresh for the game against Cardiff. But the reason why he's missing West Brom is because he's picked up 5 yellow cards, and if you do that within the first certain amount of games in the EFL, I think it's 19 matches, then you get an automatic 1-game suspension. And he's picked up 5 yellow cards. I think the 5th yellow card which he picked up against Coventry was an absolute joke for taking a quick free kick. Never ever seen a player get booked for taking a quick free kick. EFL officials for you. And we're going to end this video on my last point is Elijah Adebayo. The reason why I want to talk about him is because obviously there are cowards, spineless idiots on social media who resort to sending him messages, racist messages on social media. We've seen it after the game against Sunderland, and we've also seen it again after the game against Coventry. It's always Elijah they do it to, absolute spineless cowards. As Luton said, go and say it to his face, but they won't do because they'll be scared of what the consequences are. And people are just basically, they're willing to do it because there's no consequences when you do it on social media. You know, and until these social media platforms actually act and properly do something about this, you're going to keep getting players across the world keep getting racially abused because they won't act on this. We need to be better in this country at acting on stuff like this. It should be a lot easier to track these people down now with the technology that's out there and ban these people. Give them a football ban, give them prison time. It should not be doing this anymore now. We're in 2024, 2025 is around the corner. It's a complete joke that we're still talking about players being racially abused. It's a complete joke. And if you are a Luton fan and you're one of these people that are doing it behind the scenes, you're a coward, and you should honestly, I don't want to see you at a Luton game. That is, I just can't believe people are still resulting to this. I don't even know what comes in your mind when you put a message like this towards a footballer. I can't get my head around it. Of course, education comes involved, but I do feel sorry for Elijah because I can't imagine how that feels. I'm quite lucky being a white young man in this country. I don't have to face anything like that. So, I can't pretend I know how he's feeling, but I'm sure it's definitely not, he's not happy about it. So, look, I want to say fair play for him for getting through this week and then also scoring a goal on the weekend despite that. You know, and it wasn't an easy chance either. It was actually quite a good finish. You know, he had an easy chance against Sunderland, got his first goal of the season. He's now scored 2 goals in 2 games now. And what a finish it was, and what a bit of confidence that does to him, scoring again. A difficult chance as well. He's off and firing now for the season, and we've now got Elijah Adebayo back. I know he's been working extremely hard since the start of the season. He has been putting in that effort, that work rate in, and yeah, he has missed some big chances, but fair play to him. He keeps going, he keeps trying. Maybe he tries too hard at times, but I'm glad he's got his goals, and I feel like he's going to score a lot more throughout the rest of this championship season. But look, we all stand behind Elijah, and we hope he keeps doing it because we know he's a good player, especially in the championship as well. But yeah, that's how I'm going to end this video. Drop a like on the video if you did enjoy listening to my thoughts. Comment below what you believe you learnt from the game against Coventry. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I'll see you guys in my next video. I don't know when it's going to be. I may surprise you, but yeah, hope you all have a good Sunday, and I'll see you guys in the next one.